I see the burden you carry, my friend. That strange vertigo when you watch the seconds fall like grains of sand through the hourglass of your existence. 10, 9, 8, and you feel viscerally in the marrow of your bones that something immense is collapsing or being born. The Archangel Michael, they say, is calling. God himself is seeking you. But let us tear away the veils of sentimentality and ask the question that burns. What does it mean that the divine seeks you? And why, after all this time, do you still hesitate at the threshold? This is not a theological question. This is a question of physiology. Your body knows what your domesticated mind refuses to acknowledge, that you have been living in a state of perpetual half-death, a zombified existence where you smile at funerals and weep at weddings, where you congratulate others on victories while your own soul bleeds in silence. The call you feel is not the whisper of some bearded deity in the clouds. It is the scream of your own will to power, demanding recognition, demanding that you stop castrating yourself with the anesthesia of the herd's morality. The fracture of the chosen one. You feel chosen, yes. But do you understand what this means beyond the cotton candy fantasy peddled by the priests of comfort? To be chosen is not to be loved, it is to be burdened. The chosen one is the one who cannot unsee, who cannot unknow, who carries in their chest the terrible knowledge that the world is asleep and that their wakefulness is a curse disguised as a gift. You are the one who lies awake at 3 a.m. not because of anxiety, but because your spirit is allergic to the lies that allow others to sleep soundly. Your body rejects the spoiled meat of modern morals, the equality doctrine that reduces lions to sheep, the victim narrative that transforms strength into pathology, the cancel culture that punishes excellence and rewards mediocrity. This call from heaven that you experience is, in Nietzschean terms, your authentic self, trying to break through the crust of socialization that has been hardening around you since childhood. Every time you felt that inexplicable pull, that electric current running up your spine, that sudden certainty in the grocery line, that was not God speaking, that was you speaking to yourself from a deeper stratum, from the place where your highest potential resides, screaming through the noise, wake up, stop pretending, stop living the script they wrote for you. But here is the tragedy, the comedy, the obscenity of it all. You ignored it, not once, not twice, but hundreds of times. Why? Because the herd trained you well. They taught you to distrust your own greatness, to pathologize your own power, to interpret every surge of vitality as arrogance, every moment of self-assertion as selfishness, every flash of superiority as something to be ashamed of and corrected. The slave morality is so deep in your nervous system that when the call came, when your destiny knocked, you diagnosed it as stress, as imagination, as the product of an overactive mind that needs to be medicated, therapized, or prayed away. The 3 keys and the hammer. For those with ears to hear, I have left the map to exit the labyrinth in the pinned comment. In my trilogy, The 3 Keys to a Prosperous Life. But know this, the map is useless if the legs refuse to walk. The first step represents the courage to acknowledge that the divine intervention you seek has always been within you, waiting for permission to erupt. This is not a product to consume passively like another spiritual pacifier. This is a hammer, my hammer, to shatter the idols you have been worshipping. The idol of victimhood, the idol of external salvation, the idol of someday that keeps you paralyzed in the eternal waiting room of your own life. The keys I offer are not mystical formulas whispered by angels. They are the result of a brutal genealogical investigation into the mechanisms by which the strong become weak, by which the noble become common, by which the chosen one becomes indistinguishable from the mass. The first key unlocks the prison of resentment, that slow-acting poison where you blame others, God, parents, society, fate, for the chains you refuse to break. The second key opens the door to strategic solitude, where you learn that being alone is not abandonment, but altitude, where the air is thin because you are climbing. The third key reveals the sacred no, the ability to reject, to refuse, to turn your back on the 1,000 invitations to mediocrity that come dressed as opportunities and blessings. But let us return to your story, to the narrative you have been telling yourself about being forgotten, about wandering in deserts while others feast. This is where we must swing the hammer hardest. The desert as forge, genealogy of your wound. You ask, why was I forgotten? Why did doors close while others walked through? The question itself reveals the slave's perspective, the victim's grammar. Let me rephrase it in the language of power. Why was I protected from paths that would have destroyed the unique configuration of my genius? Why was I refined in isolation while others were fattened in the comfortable pens of social approval? The family that tried to break you, did they succeed because they were evil, or because your very existence was a mirror reflecting their cowardice? Think carefully. The scapegoat mechanism that cast you out was not random. You were chosen to carry the sins, the unspoken truths, the repressed greatness of an entire lineage that chose comfort over excellence. They sensed in you something dangerous, the possibility of a different life, a higher standard, a refusal to participate in the collective lie. And so they did what the weak always do when confronted with strength. They attacked, they gaslit, they pathologized, they tried to convince you that your power was illness, that your vision was delusion, that your hunger for more was ingratitude. But here is what they could not kill: the vital impulse, the will to power that courses through you despite everything. Every closed door was your nervous system's way of saying, not this, not yet. You are being prepared for something that requires a different calibration. The job you didn't get would have turned you into a slave with a good salary. The relationship that ended would have domesticated the wild animal that you are. The friendships that dissolved were training you for the radical solitude where all great transformations occur, where the lion becomes a child, where you stop seeking permission and start creating new values. Your desert season was not punishment, it was initiation. Do you think Moses left Egypt and immediately entered the promised land? Do you think the Buddha achieved enlightenment without sitting under the tree until his body rebelled? Do you think Zarathustra descended from the mountain without first enduring the silence that breaks most men? The desert is where the false self dies of thirst so the true self can be born. The furnace is where the impurities are burned away, the need for external validation, the addiction to being liked, the fear of standing alone, the worship of consensus. And what did this forge produce? A warrior who didn't know they existed, someone who can smile through pain, not because they are numb, but because they have integrated suffering as raw material for art. Someone whose empty pockets became a lesson in self-reliance, whose loneliness became a laboratory for self-discovery, whose tears watered the seeds of compassion that will allow them to lead others through their own deserts. The you of 3 years ago, soft, optimistic, still believing in fairy tales about how the world works, that version would have been obliterated by what is coming. But the you of today, forged in fire, you are ready, unmasking the slave morality of waiting. But let us not celebrate too quickly. There is still poison in the system. Notice how the language of divine timing can become another narcotic, another excuse for inaction. God is preparing me, you say, while months turn into years and you remain stuck in the same patterns, the same relationships, the same mediocre existence. This is where slave morality performs its most insidious trick. It takes the truth that growth requires time and perverts it into a reason for passivity, that you should just wait for external forces to move you. The herd loves this doctrine because it keeps everyone in their place. Your time will come, they coo, like farmers soothing cattle before the slaughter. Just be patient, just keep believing, just keep showing up to the same dead-end job, the same soul-crushing relationships, the same poverty consciousness, and one day, mysteriously, magically, it will all change. This is the opium of the masses, the drug that keeps slaves content in their chains. The truth is more terrifying and more liberating. Nothing is coming to save you. Not God, not angels, not Archangel Michael with his flaming sword. The call you hear is you calling yourself from the future, from the version of you that already exists in potential, demanding that you take the first step, the second step, the 1,000th step toward your own becoming. The divine intervention is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens through you when you finally align with your authentic will. This is not atheism. This is the highest form of theism. The recognition that God, if we must use that word, does not exist as an external daddy figure dispensing rewards and punishments, but as the creative force within existence itself, the force that drives evolution, that pushes life toward greater complexity, greater beauty, greater power. And you, chosen one, are a focal point of this force. The question is not whether God is seeking you. The question is whether you are brave enough to embody the divine creative power that seeks expression through your unique configuration of talents, wounds, obsessions, and visions. The resentment matrix. Why others tried to destroy you, let us excavate deeper. Why did they try to break you? Not the surface answer. They were jealous. But the physiological, psychological, genealogical answer that reveals the mechanics of slave morality. Resentment, what I call ressentiment, is the defining emotion of slave morality. It is the slow-burning acid that eats away at the soul of the weak when they encounter the strong. The resenter cannot create, cannot build, cannot generate new values, so instead, they devote their life to tearing down, to diminishing, to dragging excellence down to their level. And here is the key. Resentment always disguises itself as morality. When your family attacked you, they did not say, "We hate you because you represent everything we were too cowardly to become." Instead, they said, "You are selfish, you are arrogant, you think you're better than us. You need to be more humble, more grateful, more normal." This is the inversion of values in action, where your strength is reframed as weakness, where your refusal to participate in their mediocrity is reframed as moral failure. The same dynamic plays out in society. The herd does not say, "We need to destroy the exceptional because their existence makes us uncomfortable with our own mediocrity." Instead, they invent concepts like privilege, toxicity, problematic, vague moral weapons that can be deployed against anyone who refuses to kneel at the altar of equality. The cancel culture, the call-out culture, the entire apparatus of modern resentment operates on this principle. If we cannot rise to your level, we will force you to descend to ours. If we cannot create beauty, we will declare beauty itself oppressive. If we cannot embody power, we will pathologize power as violence. You, chosen one, have been living in this matrix your entire life. Every time you felt guilty for your ambitions, every time you apologized for your intensity, every time you dimmed your light to make others comfortable, that was the slave morality doing its work, convincing you that your power was a problem, that your difference was a disease, that your exceptionalism was something to be ashamed of and corrected. But your body knew better. That is why you felt sick when you tried to fit in. That is why relationships that should have worked felt like slow suffocation. That is why career paths that looked perfect on paper filled you with existential dread. Your nervous system was rejecting the poison, even when your conscious mind had been trained to swallow it with a smile. The physiology of the chosen one. Let us speak plainly about the body, because philosophy that ignores biology is worthless. You are not just psychologically different from the herd. You are physiologically different. Your nervous system is wired for greater sensitivity, which means you experience both suffering and ecstasy at higher amplitudes than the average human. What others can ignore, you must confront. What others can tolerate, you cannot. This is not a disorder, this is a different order, a higher order. Your digestion, both literal and metaphorical, rejects certain foods, certain ideas, certain energies that others consume without issue. You have tried to eat the fast food of mainstream spirituality, positive thinking, law of attraction, manifestation mantras, and felt your stomach rebel. You have tried to digest the relationships and jobs that should satisfy you, and instead felt nauseous. This is not ingratitude. This is your body's intelligence saying, this is not for you. This is beneath your standard. This will poison the unique genius you are carrying. Your sleep patterns are irregular, not because you have a disorder, but because you are processing information and experiences at a different frequency. The 3 a.m. wakefulness is your spirit doing deep work, integrating, synthesizing, preparing you for the next level, the racing heart, the electric feeling in your chest. This is not anxiety. This is activation. This is the life force moving through you at higher voltage than the domestic circuits can handle. And your social isolation, this is where we must be most honest. You did not fail socially. You graduated. The conversations that satisfy others bore you to tears because you are operating at a different depth. The parties, the small talk, the performative friendship rituals, you tried to participate and it felt like dying slowly. This is not misanthropy. This is discernment. You love humanity deeply, which is precisely why you cannot tolerate its current degraded form. You see the potential, the possibility, the heights to which humans could rise, and the gap between what is and what could be is so vast that spending time in the valley of normal social interaction feels like betrayal of your own knowing. Amor fati, the tragic affirmation. Now comes the most difficult teaching, the one that separates the student from the master. Would you live this life again, exactly as it has been, infinite times? The closed doors, the betrayals, the loneliness, the financial struggles, the misunderstandings, the nights of tears. Would you choose it all again, not despite the suffering, but because of it? This is the question of the eternal recurrence, the ultimate test of whether you have truly embraced your fate or are still secretly wishing for a different story. The slave says, "If only I had been born into a different family, a different body, a different era, then I could be happy." The master says, "Every single element of my life, including the worst moments, was necessary to forge who I am. I would not change a single detail because even the slightest alteration would produce a different person, and I am in love with who I am becoming." This is not masochism. This is the highest form of health, what I call the great health. It is the ability to metabolize suffering, to transform trauma into fuel, to use every obstacle as raw material for the art project that is your life. The family that rejected you, they gave you independence. The poverty, it stripped away your attachment to material security, forcing you to develop spiritual resources. The loneliness, it created the space for the unique vision that no committee could have produced. But here is where the teaching gets dangerous. If you truly embrace amor fati, then you must also embrace the responsibility of being the author of your life. You can no longer hide behind divine timing or God's plan as excuses for inaction. If everything that has happened was necessary and perfect, then you must also accept that everything that happens next will be the result of your choices, your courage, your will. The desert is ending not because God decided it is time, but because you have finally become strong enough to leave it. The doors are opening not because you waited patiently enough, but because you have finally developed the power to knock them down. The will to power, unleashed, the 3-part blessing. The promise you hear, sudden favor, divine restoration, supernatural peace, is real, but not in the way the preachers describe it. Let me translate into the language of power. 1. Sudden favor. Recognition of your power, what you call favor, is actually the inevitable result of years of preparation meeting the right moment. The email that gets answered, the conversation that opens doors, your name in the right rooms. This is not magic. This is compound interest on the work you have been doing in obscurity. Malcolm Gladwell was half right about the 10,000 hour rule, but he missed the crucial point. Those hours must be spent in the right direction, with the right intensity, with the refusal to compromise your vision for approval. The doors opening without knocking are doors you have been preparing to walk through for years. Your energy has shifted, your confidence has deepened, your ability to hold space for your own power without apologizing has matured. People sense this, not consciously, but physiologically. They feel in your presence something rare and valuable. Authenticity, depth, the refusal to play small. This is why opportunities suddenly appear, not because God decided to bless you, but because you have finally stopped betraying yourself in 1,000 small ways, and the world responds to this coherence. 2. Divine restoration. As reclamation of what was always yours. The restoration of what was taken is actually the restoration of your own power that you gave away. The relationships that need to heal will heal, not because God magically changes the other person, but because you have changed the dynamic. You are no longer the desperate, needy, approval-seeking version who entered that relationship. You have become someone who can hold boundaries, who can say no, who can walk away from what does not serve your highest becoming. The years the locusts consumed are being returned not as compensation, but as recognition. You did not waste those years. You were building invisible infrastructure, emotional resilience, spiritual depth, creative vision, the ability to be alone without being lonely. These are the assets that cannot be taken away, that compound over time, that separate the strong from the weak. You are not being restored to your previous state. You are ascending to a new octave where the losses of the past reveal themselves as necessary sacrifices on the altar of your transformation. 3. Supernatural peace. Integration of your shadow. The peace you seek is not the peace of the graveyard, not the numbness of those who have given up on life. It is the peace of the warrior who has faced every demon, internal and external, and emerged victorious. The anxiety that plagued you was not a disorder. It was unintegrated power, life force that had no channel for expression. You felt like you were going to explode because you were going to explode, but you interpreted this as pathology rather than prophecy. The sudden disappearance of this anxiety will occur when you finally give yourself permission to embody the fullness of your power. The voice that whispers, "You're not enough," will be silenced not because you learn to ignore it, but because you prove it wrong through action. Every time you take a risk, every time you honor your truth even when it costs you, every time you choose the difficult path of authenticity over the easy path of conformity, you build evidence for your own worthiness, and eventually the evidence becomes so overwhelming that the old voice has no credibility left. The burdens that are not yours are the expectations, judgments, and projections of the herd. You have been carrying their disappointment, their fear, their mediocrity, as if it were your own. The lightness you will feel is the lightness of someone who has finally put down a backpack full of stones they never needed to carry. You will wake up one morning and realize, I am free. Not because my circumstances changed, but because I changed my relationship to my circumstances. I am no longer a victim of my story. I am the author of my story. The alignment mechanism, beyond perfection to presence. The key to activating this triple blessing is not perfection, that slave morality concept that keeps you paralyzed in endless self-improvement loops. The key is alignment, which is another word for authenticity, presence. The ability to be fully here in this moment without rehearsing the past or fantasizing about the future. Most people live in a state of temporal dissociation. They are physically present but mentally absent, forever dwelling in regrets about yesterday or anxieties about tomorrow. The past haunts them with if-onlys, and the future terrifies them with what-ifs, and the present moment, the only place where life actually happens, where power actually resides, is missed entirely. But you, sitting here, reading these words, absorbing this transmission, you are practicing presence, not perfectly, perfection is a myth, but genuinely. Your hunger for truth, your willingness to hear difficult teachings, your refusal to settle for the spiritual junk food that satisfies others, this hunger is the auto route to miracles. Not because hunger makes you deserving, that is still slave morality thinking, but because hunger creates receptivity. An empty cup can be filled, a full cup just overflows and wastes whatever is poured into it. You have been emptied by suffering, by disappointment, by the stripping away of everything you thought you needed. And now you are in the rare position of having nothing to defend, nothing to protect, nothing to lose. This is not poverty, this is freedom. This is the beginner's mind that the Buddhists speak of, the child consciousness that I speak of in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the ability to encounter reality fresh, without the filters of ideology, expectation, or past conditioning. The 30-day prophecy, a Nietzschean reframing. The prophecy that within 30 days you will see evidence. Let me reframe this from cosmic intervention to psychophysical activation. What is actually being predicted is not that an external force will suddenly bless you, but that your own system is being recalibrated in this moment. Every word you are absorbing is rewiring neural pathways, shifting energetic frequencies, dissolving old patterns and establishing new ones. Within 30 days, you will take actions you have been avoiding for months or years. Not because God pushes you, but because the internal resistance has finally been dissolved. The courage you lacked, the clarity you needed, the confidence you sought, it is being activated right now in this sustained attention, in this willingness to go deep, in this refusal to skip to the next distraction. And when you take these actions, apply for that opportunity, have that difficult conversation, set that boundary, start that project, invest that money, make that move, the external world will respond. Not magically, but mechanically. The universe is not a person who rewards good behavior. It is a field of energy that responds to vibration. When your internal state shifts from fear to power, from victimhood to sovereignty, from asking permission to claiming what is yours, the field rearranges itself around this new vibration. The financial breakthrough you didn't see coming is you finally valuing yourself enough to charge what you are worth, to negotiate instead of accepting the first offer, to walk away from opportunities that insult your worth. The relationship that heals suddenly is you no longer tolerating toxic dynamics, no longer explaining yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you, no longer seeking closure from those who can never provide it. The job offer that seems too good to be true is your energy finally matching the opportunity that has been waiting for someone with your exact configuration of skills, experience, and vision. The sacred no and strategic solitude. Let us go deeper into the practical philosophy, the tools disguised as wisdom. The first tool is the sacred no, the ability to refuse, to reject, to turn your back on opportunities that look good on paper but feel wrong in your bones. The herd trains you to say yes, yes to family obligations that drain you, yes to social invitations that bore you, yes to career paths that look impressive but kill your soul slowly, yes to relationships that provide security but not passion, yes to beliefs that provide comfort but not truth. The entire socialization process is designed to make you into a people pleaser, someone who sacrifices their own truth on the altar of social harmony, someone who would rather be liked than be real. But the chosen one must learn the opposite discipline, the sacred no. This is not selfishness. That is what the herd will call it to shame you back into compliance. This is self-preservation, self-respect, self-honoring. Every time you say yes when your body says no, you betray yourself. Every time you accept what is unacceptable to avoid conflict, you teach the world to disrespect you. Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, you sacrifice your integrity on the altar of false harmony. The sacred no is a sword that cuts away everything that is not aligned with your highest becoming. It is brutal because it requires you to disappoint people, parents, friends, partners, society. It requires you to be misunderstood, judged, labeled as difficult, problematic, selfish. But here is the secret: the people who truly matter, who resonate with your authentic frequency, will respect your boundaries more than your compliance. And the people who do not matter, who need you to remain small for their own comfort, their disappointment in you is actually a badge of honor, proof that you are finally choosing yourself over their expectations. Strategic solitude is the natural companion of the sacred no. When you stop saying yes to social obligations that do not serve you, when you stop pretending to enjoy conversations that bore you, when you stop attending events out of guilt or obligation, you create vast swathes of time alone. This terrifies most people. They have been conditioned to believe that being alone means being lonely, that solitude is evidence of social failure, that if you are not constantly surrounded by people, you must be broken or sad. But solitude is the forge where all greatness is hammered into shape. Show me a master in any field, any discipline, and I will show you someone who spent years alone, practicing in obscurity, developing their craft without applause or validation. The chosen one must learn to be comfortable in this silence, to befriend their own thoughts, to become so interesting to themselves that they no longer need external entertainment to feel alive. Strategic solitude is not hermitage. It is not about becoming a monk who renounces the world. It is about creating protected time and space, where you can hear your own voice, where the signal of your authentic self is not drowned out by the noise of the herd's opinions, expectations, and judgments. In this silence, you discover what you actually want versus what you were told to want, what you actually value versus what is supposed to be valuable, who you actually are versus who you perform being for others. The mental diet, curating your informational ecosystem. The second tool is the mental diet, the recognition that you become what you consume, not just physically, but informationally, emotionally, energetically. The average person consumes a toxic diet of news, social media, gossip, complaint, and victimhood narratives, and then wonders why they feel anxious, powerless, and